Hey people, Theo here, and I'm back with more metroexodus. In the last episode, we made our way over here to the bridge, and today we are going to continue on.
Ти що, здурів? Вони ж із Кирилом усіх демонів заприсяглися звести. Такі не повертаються.
Та в будь-кого спитай. Їх там бусурмани перехопили, а єретик із нових звільнив.
Здрейфив просто Семен. І не таке вигадують, аби до демонів не йти.
You don't see me, shut up. Okay, somebody fished here. Let's wait to the next side.
Хоча діло боговгодне. Ну, Семен. А потім що?
Перехрестився, поріг поцілував і назад пішов. До демонів, ясно?
А Кирило що?
Nothing here. Oh, they have a wooden wheel.
Я от усе міркую. А що йому?
Wait, there's enough light here so they can see me.
Та що тут міркувати? На той бік хочуть, як усі.
Не наде. А що їм на тому вулицю? Гедом на нашому зоселі люди вже місяць.
Брате, усі кращого життя хочуть. А добре те?
Де? Ну, хочеш з тобою піти?
Де нас немає.
Turn off all the lights so they can't see anything. What the? Who almost saw me?
Та не про те я, Болдуре. Тьху на те.
Це що, виходить, у єретиків добре?
Та що з тобою балакати? Ти собі, та пильнуй на всі біч. Може,
That's the kick.
єретиці твої вже тут.
Де?
Та усю. Пильнуй. У тебе
already
очі молоді.
Took his stuff.
Якщо
Okay.
побачиш, одразу
The thing is,
кричи.
I can't move them because if I could, I'd move him over here. Is this the way up? I guess it is. You don't see me. Fuck off.
Господи, милостивий і справедливий. Захисти нас від потоку лукавого.
This thing's gotta be loud.
Пусти його. І укріпи нас у вірі.
How is it so quiet?
Душі наші. Як врятував ти тіла наші.
I'm getting up. And it's starting to rain. Great.
І розверзлися небеса, і впав на землю існодощий ракет, і стала земля попелом, і закипіли моря, і люди і обернулися. І лише обитель наша вціліла.
If it's raining this heavily, it should put out fires, if you ask me. Come on. Let me through. Need to go to this side.
Доки техніку бісівську відкидаєте. А
І
нас
reject.
іншого. Чи відкидаєте хитрість дияволову? Електричний, проклятий дарунок лукавого дурням, щоб ті загордилися і стали вищі за Господа і надмогутніші за нього.
Save the game.
Воістину!
Okay, so it's quiet enough that they won't hear me. That's... I thought that would be...
І атом, і машини всілякі пройде в царство Боже. Лише того, хто себе не забрудлив, пропустить у хлібні чертоги Господа І не вбоїмося чужинців, що з війною до нас прийшли.
Turn around.
Що напали.
Come on, turn around.
Притулок наш.
Or come down here or turn around. One of those two.
Біля воріт наших їхній кінь залізний, що мастилом смердить.
Oh, there we go. Also, I just realized I have these.
Зустрінемо у всеозброєнні ворогів наших. От настав наш час.
Quiet.
Тож нехай десниця ваша урождає слух нечистого без відпочинку і жалю, що виконуємо
Okay, going up.
Господа нашого, і від нього приймуть вороги наші кару і воздаяння за гріхи їхні. І всі
Hold them over there.
нашої обителі
Oh, fuck it.
розліються, як порох за вітром, коли здійсниться воля його.
Have the lights turned off. I have a lot of wood here. Okay. These guys shouldn't come after me.
Та електрика мітить шельму навіки
Cannot go in here.
Помолімо її про
Cannot go in here.
прикличмо її.
Прийди, цариво!
Wait for these to go out completely.
А надто всього іншого. Той прип'ячої варти не уник. Дісталися таки єретики кляті. Катерину забрали і мене дісталися.
Ох ти, спритний, Артеме. Слухай, ми тут просто проїздом, зрозумів? Якщо наших пропустять, вони не стрілятимуть. Ми намагалися ваших не кривдити, до речі. А Катерина нас сама попросила забрати її з дочкою. Все зрозуміло?
А чого не зрозуміти? Спочатку горлорізів тутешніх винищили, а тепер і за нас узялися. Старих і дітей теж убивати будете? Чи вже вдосталь крові напилися? Їдьте геть з-перед очей, хай Бог вас за гріхи карає, а мені слід паству свою берегти.
О, ти молодець!
Oh, the молодець.
Братіє, увага! Вогню не відкривати! Чуєте? За стрілянину прокляну! Ось, усе, що міг. Ви, головне, не стріляйте. А машиністу скажіть, хай не жене. Міст ледь тримається.
Авро, це
Зупинятись
князь,
не
ми
можна,
тут домовилися з місцевими.
доведеться вам
Нас пропустять,
спробувати.
якщо не стрілятимемо, ми підемо малим ходом і зупинятись не будемо. Прийом.
Прийнято, князю. Починаємо рух. Увага усіх! Без наказу
Артеме, стрибаємо!
Okay.
Непогано спрацювали, а, Артеме?
Duke survives. Oh, you have died? Unload the bridge. Complete the Volga level. Hell yeah.
Волга залишилася позаду. Перед нами безкраї простори Росії. Останньої миті мостовики, схоже, повірили, що ми не демони і пропустили нас миром. Анна мала рацію. Ми вдерлися в їхній світ, і не нам його руйнувати. Наскільки безглуздим він би нам не здавався. Електрика – гріх. А чим це гірше брехні про те, що весь світ мертвий і йти немає куди? Але ж цією зручною брехнею погодилося все метро. В Ямантау ми принаймні дізнаємось, чи була ця брехня на благо. Адже обіцяних окупантів ми поки що не зустріли.
Okay. Spring is the next place. So I didn't know that would happen. Like, that we didn't have to, you know, shoot and kill our way through if I spared every single one of them. So that's good. I feel rewarded for my style of play.
Артеме, Артеме, прокидайся.
Чеко.
Прокинувся вже? Артеме, тебе полковник до рубки кличе.
Okay.
А я побіг.
Прокидайся. Час.
Well, Ah, I could sit down.
Ти у мене молодець. Адже ми тепер не вдома, тож краще так і діяти. Обережненько. Адже нас, людей, і так мало залишилося. І, можливо, коли-небудь ми зможемо довіряти незнайомцям просто тому, що вони теж люди. Дістала? Вибач, мене сьогодні щось на філософію потягло.
You're not bothering me, don't worry. Also, I slept in this kind of train. In my country, it's an overnight train. Turn off the light. Okay. And I slept in this kind of train, and for me, it's always a problem that I can't fully stretch out because I'm too tall for this type of train. So that was kind of the stuff. Okay. We have quite a few stuff. Diary. Oscar, winter, Volga, spring. Oh, so I can finally read about this stuff. Hell yeah. Okay. When it has been years since anyone's heard anything but static and white noise on the radio, who could still believe we're not alone on this earth? My wife, my comrades from the Order, my friends, people from my station, nobody believes me. They are sure that there's nothing on the radio. Sure that say for us, who in the Moscow metro, there were no survivors of the last war. We are alone on this planet, and in the metro, it's common knowledge. But I did hear that call on the radio with my own ears. Yes, it was immediately drowned out by the static, but I had heard it, which means that someone out there under the skies, there's still a habitable place. We're not doomed to live the rest of our lives underground. Still, nobody believes me. Winter. We stopped 100 clicks from Moscow to check our Geiger counters. The thing is, they are all in the green, as if they're in a conspiracy. Still, this amazing piece of news doesn't really impress anyone that much. The guys are all confused as to what to do next, and I'm just waiting for answers and hoping the commander, whom until recently I trusted implicitly, is going to be extremely persuasive in his reasoning. The Volga. After all those years in the underground, the air of the surface seemed incredibly fresh, intoxicating. But that was not the cause of the crew's euphoria. Our journey finally had a definitive purpose provided by the transmission from the government bunker in the Urals. We spent 20 years thinking that neither the government nor military high command had survived. As it turned out, they were still around. Where were they while we were eating each other alive in the metro? We had lots of questions to ask them, but once we reached Yamantau, if we ever would, the ruins of our country were under enemy control according to Miller, and we would have to fight through to our goal. A small team against the occupation armies. What chance do we have to succeed? To get some answers. Yet, setting out on our recon mission, Anna and I did not ponder these questions. We just kept filling our lungs with that sweet fresh air, splashing about the spring puddles like children, out for the first walk after a long sickness. When I docked the old and battered, but still surprisingly watertight boat at the goal, it became apparent why our arrival terrified the locals. These fanatics are, for some reason, convinced that it was electricity that brought about mankind's demise, so they avoid any and all technology like the plague. On the other hand, they have a grain of reason in their belief, for technical progress did in fact enable our self-destruction. They didn't get me with their trap, thanks to the little girl and her mother, who had been held by the fanatics in that murky and damp ruin for about a year. If the locals would do such things, was there any real hope that they'd be inclined to let us cross the bridge? I'm not sure. I did manage to help Katya and Natya escape the church, but the reinforcements that had arrived to spring the trap on the dangerous heretic that I was saw me. I had no choice, but still, I've no reason to be proud of my actions. I had hoped that here, on the surface, we would be able to live different lives. Back in the metro, people were constantly at each other's throats through lack of living space and even air. Why would they have to die here? Such a waste. There's one consolation, though. Now we have a reliable source of information on the fanatics. and we might be able to use the new information to cross the bridge while avoiding even heavier sacrifice. Katya and Nastya didn't just tell us about the Fanatics, but also about Crest, a traveling mechanic hated by the Fanatics because of his trade. It's their loss, really. They can go back to using flint tools for all we care. Well, we're lucky to have such a versatile handyman in our crew now. While I was out looking for Crest, Anna managed to get into an adventure of her own. She fell down some cellar and hit her head, knocking herself out and breathing in some poisonous fumes from chemicals abandoned there who knows how many years ago. She seemed to have suffered no serious injury though. I was still mad at her father. His paranoia went way too far, making us all see enemy banners in every old rag. We found no occupying forces in this backwater. Even the chemicals in the cellar seemed to be wholly domestic. Luckily, they were long past the expiry date, or so it seemed. Getting the rail car left by Crest in the abandoned loading terminal was not easy. The half-flooded building was where the enormous catfish, one of the pillars of the local crazy parody of a religion, made its lair. I must give the Fanatics their due, though. They did turn the building into a veritable shrine, even though housed not just the catfish, but also hordes of human-like mutants, which were, of course, overjoyed to see me. The enormous mutated catfish the locals were terrified of did not stop us. I found it funny, though, that they would address their prayers to that fish. Could a man make a god out of anything? Can the degenerates even... we've been fighting demon-called men, though. At the end of the day, I had successfully exchanged some ammo for a rail car in great condition, more than capable of tugging the passenger carriage that had brought Katya to this accursed place one day back to the Aurora. I had to take some trash out first, though. Waddling through mud amongst the rusty railroad carriages and dead husks of abandoned buildings, I had for some reason expected to have left the bandits, along with Moscow's poisonous air, far back. Now, I do of course understand that it was rather silly of me. There's no changing the human nature. And anarchy could only make the worst qualities of it present themselves. The beautiful is always unique, while the ugly is surprisingly uniform. These bands, were they hardened criminals or just people left desperate and robbed of most of their humanity by the war that had blown over them, differed from their metro counterparts by clothes and names at most. Their actions, robbing, murdering, and capturing innocent people to sell into slavery, were exactly the same. My opinion of the Fanatics notwithstanding, only a complete and utter bastard could have left them in the hands of the bandits. Naturally, the bandits would keep terrorizing the locals afterwards. They might even be torturing some new victims at this very moment. But at least I saved somebody, simply because I could not have done otherwise. It was pointless to even try to talk to the Fanatics into letting us cross the bridge, so our only option was to take the matter into our own hands and lower the movable section of the bridge, regardless of their opinion on that. The problem was we couldn't really get onto that bridge from the shore. So we had to use the last remaining path of entry, the river, where the Fanatics could not expect us from. The path could only be rendered accessible with the help of a tugboat we could rent from the river traders. Luckily, the trader's captain proved to be no fool and surrendered immediately after glancing into the barrels of our weapons trained on his head. The boat's crew remained completely oblivious of our infiltration until we took the situation under control so no blood was spilled. For us, the bridge was little more than an obstacle to cross, but from the Fanatics it was a lot more. It was their safe haven from the terrible demons of electricity, their home, the temple, and their fortress. No wonder they weren't exactly keen on letting just anyone through, they said. The guards were sure less than competent, lulled into complacency by the safety of their home ground. So much so that Duke and I managed to sneak into the very heart of their cult completely undetected. All that stealth and special operation training Miller had us go through definitely paid off, and we got a drop on Silentius, who was left with no option but surrender. We left Volga behind. There we met people who spent all these years living in the open and never heard about the war still going on or the conditions we had to tolerate living in the metro. When I received the signals from the survivors outside of Moscow for the first time, I thought the people of the surface would be different from us, would be free from fear and hopelessness. In the metro, we knew where we were not living, but merely passing time before death. So for some reason, I expected the people who knew they had a proper tomorrow to be somehow wiser, more free and noble than us. I was wrong. They were just as miserable and lost as we were. Perhaps the problem was not the metro, but us all along. If here, on the surface, we continue doing the same things we did underground, we might never get a chance to build a future. A vast world stretches before us, and I am sure we will find what we are looking for, if the occupying forces don't get us on the way. And spring. Damn, that was 8 minutes of reading. But let's also read this. We left Volga behind. The endless expanses of Russia stretch before us now. The bridge dwellers have finally decided to believe that we were not demons and let us pass. And I was right. We invaded their world, and it's not up to us to destroy it. No matter how stupid it may seem, electricity is a sin. Is that really worse than the lies we were told in the metro about how the whole world was dead and there was nowhere to go? Everybody in the tunnels bought that convenient lie. Once we reach Yamantau, we will, at least, know if that lie was justified, since, so far, we haven't met any signs of enemy occupation. Crew. Damn, that's... Okay. There's so much to read. The New World. Bandits, Fanatics, Exhibition, Hansa. Oh my god. Creatures. There's so much. Holy shit. You know what? I'm transforming this episode into a reading episode. Yeah. So let's continue reading. Crew, Anna. Anna, my Anna. From the very beginning I thought I was not worthy of you. What was I? A nerdy guy from a backwater station. A dreamer hearing voices in his head. An adventure seeker, and you, the most beautiful girl in the metro, the only daughter of the legendary Colonel Miller, the best sniper of the Spartan Order. But how did you put it? There were lots of hard-boiled guys around. God, how much have we been through together? We had our bright days and really dark ones. Our feelings would die out and rekindle again. I have tried to leave, but couldn't go too far. You wanted a normal man, but you still accepted me as I am. You were the only one who didn't consider me mad when I spent days on the surface listening to the radio in fruitless attempts of receiving signals from the other survivors. You knew that every such sortie meant more radiation exposure for me and less chances for healthy children should we ever have them. And you would still let me go. You didn't prohibit me from dreaming. I always felt your gaze on me when you would cover my back in combat and when I would lose my way. I was always in your field of view. I always knew that nobody could ever replace you. My personal guardian angel of death. Is this not love? If this is not love, what is? Anna, you wanted to believe me, and you couldn't. You tried to not pay attention to your father, and you did. The Colonel firmly believes that our country is occupied and that war is still going on, and that makes us jumpy, makes us expect an attack at every turn, makes us look for traces of enemy presence everywhere. He has us riled up, and Anna is not immune to that. She was so eager to find the occupying forces in that tiny abandoned village near the bridge over Volga that she saw an American banner in the mere old t-shirt. She went to investigate and fell through the roof of an old chemical storage silo. Luckily, the chemicals seemed to have been long since expired, and Anna got away with just a few bruises. Needless to say, there was not a trace of foreign troops' presence anywhere close. Colonel Miller. Colonel Sviatoslav Konstantinovich Melnikov, the founder and the permanent commander of the Order of Sparta. Miller picked and trained each Spartan individually. He was the only one to come to rescue of my home station when we were under attack by the Dark Ones. He was the only one to stand between the communists and the Nazis, and prevent the conflict which would spell the ultimate end of our civilization. It was Miller who accepted me into the Order and blessed our union with honor. His only daughter, I became his son-in-law, but could never amass the courage to call him dad. Nothing but Colonel, with a sir, of course. In the D6 defense, the Colonel lost his best fighters and his old self. Something is forever broken is him. He became cold, completely intolerant of any dissent. Sometimes I feel he's sorry he didn't object in his daughter marrying me. He would have probably preferred Hunter as his in-law, but Hunter is missing and I dragged his daughter into a maelstrom none of us might ever emerge from. I dragged the Colonel into the worst adventure of his life. He had to commit high treason to save his daughter, with me in tow. He is convinced that the war is still going on, that Moscow had to fake death to prevent the final murder strike from being launched against it. But Anna is still his daughter, and I am still one of his soldiers, so he, in his advanced age, risks everything he has, his reputation, his position in the metro, the most of his order, everything to save us two, and maybe somehow get himself out of this mess. We are going to the Yamantau mountain, where the Supreme Command HQ is located. Only the true government of our destroyed country could now pardon the Colonel for treason, of course, if they agree to even listen to him at all. There's one problem though. It's been a few days since we left Moscow, but we have yet to find a trace of the occupying forces. Damir is probably the calmest of all the crew members. Damir is also extremely reliable. He'll always be there to help. He always does the hardest part of any job, goes on the toughest missions, and then instead of taking the well-earned respect and gratitude as one would expect, he starts blushing and saying he had nothing to do with the success and it all just kind of happened that way. There's only one painful issue from Damir, and that's his name given to him by his father, along with half of his blood. Damir can't forgive his father for leaving, going as far as to deny being his blood kin. Yeah. Duke of Darkness, Igor Dukov, the youngest, the bravest, and the craziest of us. Some join the Order out of desperation, others to protect the people from dangers, but Duke is just desperately in love with adventure. Whenever the Colonel asks for volunteers, Duke is always the first to shout me, no matter how hard and dangerous the mission ahead may be. A shame we don't have any medals in the Order, otherwise Duke would be plastered with them. He keeps looking up to more experienced fighters, competing with them for the most kills, missions, and wounds. For some reason, he pays particular attention to comparing his achievements with mine. Perhaps it's because I'm closest to his age. Anna once said about him, "Quit your whining, Artyom. There are people here who dream of becoming like you." About Duke, was she right? Igor likes being called the Duke of Darkness, but you can hardly find a lighter-hearted guy. He's but a brat, taking crazy risks all the time, but Lady Luck smiles to the brave. If not for the trick he played on Silantius, that old obscurant, or our whole operation could have failed. Duke, my friend, your star is undoubtedly on the rise, and soon you will outshine us all. We be of one blood, ye and I, and I'm proud of it. Yermak, the Aurora's permanent helmsman. Yermak knows her every detail down to the smallest bolt, and feels every change in the work of any of her numerous and, truth be told, quite worn out mechanisms with his heart. Yermak fit into our group so easily and naturally, it seems he was with us since forever. And yet Anna and I met him on a Hanzake base, where Yermak first helped me find my wife and then lead us in the hijacking of a beloved cruiser. Still, with Yermak's background, it's a small wonder he decided to leave Moscow with us. At the time of our meeting, we had only just learned of Hansa executing everyone trying to enter or leave Moscow. But this Yermak had been living with this terrible knowledge for months. First out of fear for his daughter's life, then after she's come to her illness out of sheer hopelessness. But now he is free, just like the rest of us, and if we ever come back to Moscow, we'll settle our skulls with Hanzake leadership together. Yermak says that every man has a destination in life. a place where the fate leads him to. And whenever life becomes hard, sometimes unbearably so, I always recall his words. This might be the end of the line, but it is still not your destination. Get up, walk on. Thank you, Yermak. Idiot. Idiot chose his nickname out of natural humility, or perhaps simply in honor of one of Dostoevsky's characters. In fact, he's anything but being the most educated and well-read soldier in the Order, leading the position of Miller's right-hand man back in the Metro. The question is, what does he really know about the reasons for people being held in the tunnels, the war that could be still going on, as well as who is really in control of the Metro? Idiot likes talking a lot, but he never actually says much, even if you push him. Save for the usual, on one hand, this could be true, while on the other. If you feel that the truth is close enough to touch, talk to Idiot. He'll confuse you completely in no time. One thing about him that I don't understand at all is that could he even be looking for fighting in the Order's ranks? Alyosha. Alyosha, the life of every party, and avid ladykiller, favorite customer of the seediest joints of Svetonoi Boulevard, and our survival on the surface instructor. After only a cursory glance, he can correctly tell if an abandoned building can last for years or is ready to collapse onto your head at the lightest touch, which ability saved him back in Moscow more than once. Alyosha is the only member of our crew seemingly taking our journey for an exciting adventure, probably in anticipation of new meetings with representatives of the fair sex, of course. Sam. Sam is one of the Order's best. He might not be the strongest, fastest, or the best marksman we have, but he can certainly hold his own in a match with Spartan champions in each of these areas. And he definitely is the most unusual of us. Sam is an American, a Marine from the US Embassy's guard detail, who just happened to be in the Metro when the Judgment Day came, eventually ending up as Colonel Miller's personal bodyguard. Sam had to sit the Battle of D6 out of on the account of staying in a hospital with a serious wound. He was really hard on himself for not being there to protect the Colonel when he was needed the most. As soon as he was back on his feet, still all bandaged, Sam would refuse to leave the Colonel's side no matter what. He wouldn't even let anybody else push Miller's wheelchair. Even when Andrew the blacksmith made amazing prosthetics the Colonel has been wearing ever since, Sam remained Miller's shadow and, of course, joined us aboard the Aurora. All of us, the crew members, are going somewhere to some kind of destination. Yeah, as Yermak puts it, even though none of us know where the destination would be, Sam, though, seems to know the place. If the world outside of Metro is not wiped out, there must be survivors in the US, and Sam can't stop thinking about his parents who might still be alive, waiting for their son. I wonder if he feels he's traveling in the right direction with us. While we were waiting for the Aurora's repairs to be completed, thinking on how to cross the river, Sam, in light of our constant mentions of occupying forces, hypnotized himself into believing that the Colonel didn't trust him. It must be heartbreaking to have served a commander for 20 years with unquestioning loyalty only to be considered a traitor, but it must be equally heartbreaking to have become so close to your old enemy only to learn that your country might still be there. After all, if the war still is going on, whose side are you on, Sam? Who are you? Stefan. In day-to-day life, Stefan is so calm and nice, it's hard to believe he is a member of the Order. We are a military organization after all. Once you see this giant in battle though, you immediately see the reason for him being here. Stefan is completely fearless and amazingly strong. He handles a heavy machine gun as if it were a regular assault rifle. We are lucky to be on Stefan's side. Having him as an enemy would be a disaster. Right until meeting Katya, Stefan has never defied the Colonel. But when Miller didn't want to let the woman and her daughter aboard the Aurora, he started a real quarrel. Colonel was noticeably thrown off, while the rest of us immediately understood what was going on. Still, as any good commander, Miller quickly saw through Stefan and himself being talked into letting Katya and Nastya aboard. With this addition, Stefan was sure to never leave the crew. Tokarev, partial to the creations of the famous gun designer he shares the family name with, is a man in love with his craft. He is constantly busy with the crew's weapons, repairing, maintaining them, and making improvements. Tokarev knows everything there is to know about weapons and even more, and can talk about them for hours, but is not really interested in much else. Still, he doesn't just care for our firepower, but also works on our gear, constantly adjusting and inventing new things, laboring day and night to make sure we all perform to the best of our ability without being hindered by inferior equipment. What would we do without him? On a side note, he seems to be quietly and hopelessly unrequitedly in love with Anna, with my Anna. He's always worried about her, thinking of her, talking about her, but I can't even bring myself to feel jealous. Katya and Nastya. I can't really imagine what Katya and Nastya have been through, and how they managed to keep their sanity, much less remain as optimistic as they were. A little girl and a tender woman proved to be tougher than fate, taking all the blows it could throw at them squarely, and these blows were many and mighty. They had arrived at Volga with a group of migrants who were out on a quest for a better life. That quest ended with them finding a new faith, and their death along with it. And of course, Salantius didn't kill anyone himself, didn't even order anyone killed. Still, his holy ritual, where an initiative must dispose of an electronic anomaly to be accepted into the fold, how is it different from a murder in cold blood? It's no wonder that the colonel let Stefan and Anna coax him into letting Katya and Nastya aboard the Aurora, even though there must be numerous dangers waiting for us still. I would argue that these ladies are tougher than some battle-hardened troopers. Besides, Katya is a trained nurse, and will most probably need all the medical experience we can get. Crest, an avid storyteller, a talented mechanic, and a natural-born adventurer who traveled all across the vast expanses of this threatening world on the surface, so alien to us, who'd been through hundreds of scuffles and struck thousands of deals, quite a few of which could well be of the less scrupulous sort. I don't know if Crest will be journeying with us for long, but I am not surprised he has such an easy time fitting in. Right from the start, he gave us a hand with fixing the Aurora, gave us the rail car he'd been using in his adventures, and then went with us on a mission to capture the tugboat, giving Duke and me the cover we needed to infiltrate the bridge. It's no wonder that even our usually cautious colonel had no second thoughts about welcoming Crest into the crew. Holy shit, this is a lot of reading. Okay, new world. Bandits. With no state and its laws, with no pockets of civilization which the new civic society could crystallize around, with no hope of ever going back to normal life, should one be surprised with the rise of anarchy and its consequences? Bandits, constructing their rudimentary societies around the basest aspects of the human nature, even in the tunnels of Moscow Metro, where every meter has been divided between the quasi-states attempting to uphold some semblance of order. On their turf, the gangs flourish. What could one expect from the world of surface, where there is simply nobody and nothing to stand up to them? On the banks of Volga, there seems to be a great many of bandit gangs. They have somehow agreed on the division of spheres of influence and are more or less happily coexisting, robbing the few remaining or newly founded in the less polluted regions peaceful survival settlements and selling their denizens as slaves on the market of the south. Fanatics, the worship of a giant mutant catfish, intense hatred towards the technology and outsiders, occupied with intense suppression of all individuality and independent thought within the community. What else could one reasonably expect from a mix of a primitive mysticism with classic religion, seethed with good old founder's code of personality? I must give the fanatics their dues, though. By banding together, they managed to survive in this wild world, settling a bridge and turning it into a veritable fortress, which which we had no choice but to take seriously. The best fighters, the lightning fighters, can fight back against the electric anomalies and even gangs of bandits, compensating for their lack in training by strong motivation rooted in their fanaticism. The exhibition, my home station, now part of Badunkurth, Commonwealth, together with Alexievskaya and Riskaya. Living there has been an uneven ride, but I still have found memories of the time, even through Anna, my wife. Would disagree, she positively hated it there, having traded the position of the Order's best sniper for everyday chores of a regular mushroom farmer. Hansa, the most powerful faction of the Metro, the Commonwealth of the stations of the Ring Line. The soldiers in Hansa's employ enjoy the best pay and equipment, and thus are highly motivated to train and perform their duties exceptionally well, making up in proficiency and skill for what they may lack in numbers. The only force to be objectively better than the Hensake troops in terms of professionalism and training is the Spartan Order, which yours truly is honored to be a member of. As far as I was able to surmise from the Colonel's reluctant confession, Hansa is the vehicle of the Invisible Watchers, the real government of Moscow, controlling all the factions from the shadows. They clearly have too much power to just live and let live, and thus engaged in some shady business, including the S.T.A.L.K.E.R project, designed to keep Moscow under an impenetrable blanket of radio jamming, to prevent further nuclear strikes against the capital. The project itself would be a benevolent initiative, even if quite misguided, had it not been connected with mass murder of people coming into or trying to leave Moscow, as well as anyone and everyone learning anything about it. Anna and I were captured by their patrol. We saw the Aurora entering the city perimeter, and just for that terrible crime, I was put to the gun. Anna's agony at the moment is something I will not forgive them, for as long as I live. Creatures. Watchmen. These annoying beasts hunt in packs, and if you see one, you'd better dispose of it immediately, otherwise it might howl and call in the rest of the pack. And it will howl as soon as it sees you. Demons. They're a bit changed from Metro 2023 and Last Light. These giant flying mutants, comfortably occupying the position of the apex predator in the food chain of the poisoned wasteland stretching above the tunnels of Moscow Metro, have, thanks to their enormous physical strength, speed and aggressive demeanor, successfully settled a huge territory. That is hardly surprising, as there are very few animals capable of ever facing a demon. Those that could fight it one-on-one and win are even fewer and further between, while a demon can easily fly away from any of them. Luckily, because of these strengths, the demons, like the large birds of prey of the past, prefer to live and hunt alone, or in very small groups, and thus do not present an immense threat to a careful traveler. Humanimals. Like the other mutants created by radioactive fallout, these nightmarish creatures fell right at home, the inhospitable post-war world. Despite clearly being descended from humans, these creatures are not really that smart, resembling apes in their behavior. They live in packs, do not use any tools, and defend themselves mostly by throwing stones from a distance. One such mutant is not much of a threat, but a fight against a pack of these is hard to survive. Our first encounter with these creatures happened on the banks of Volga. In the open, they seem harmless, and even pathetic, their ugly appearance accentuated by the sluggishness of their movements. Yet inside the abandoned loading terminal building, they proved to be more than just troublesome to me. It became apparent that besides throwing stones, they were also capable of ambushing their prey by hiding in shallow water. The Tarfish, generally a giant mutant catfish, terrorizing the fishermen, would seem to be a dubious object of worship at best, but Silentius still managed to indoctrinate the locals. He'd brainwashed into believing the monster was sent to Earth with a divine mission. Shrimp female, a mysterious aquatic life form. seemingly crustacean. Of course, you can't be sure these days. As far as I know, nobody ever thought of properly researching them and finding their proper place in classification. That we know is that they have strong carapace, are aggressive predators and as such inherently dangerous. The females of the species tend to attack in packs, spitting corrosive mucus from the distance or when they think they can easily finish their prey, going in for a kill with their disgusting leech-like mouths. Shrimp male, a mysterious aquatic life form, seemingly crustacean. Of course, you can't be sure these days. As far as I know, nobody ever thought of properly researching them and finding their proper place in classification. What I know is that they have extremely strong carapace, are aggressive predators and as such inherently dangerous. The males of the species tend to live solitary lives and are extremely territorial. Once they see anything they deem a threat, they immediately attack, using their massive forelimbs as clubs and shields at once. Dog. The common dogs seem to be no match for the messed up world of the surface, but they manage to survive despite being surrounded by mutants and human enemies. So they definitely are a threat to be considered, especially when you consider their keen senses and ability to easily alert their masters to your presence. Lurker. While lurkers are far from being the strongest or meanest mutants around, either in the metro or in the surface, they are still a danger to be considered, especially for a lonely wanderer. They are a colonial burrowing species. As such, they protect themselves from the large predators by constructing lots of interconnected burrows in close proximity to each other and hiding in them if sufficiently threatened, while keeping the surroundings under constant observation in search for danger or potential prey. When in a lurker-infested area, you can never guess which burrow a bloodthirsty creature might appear from, though you can bet it will most often be the one you're not looking at. Equipment. The gas mask. A gas mask was vital in Moscow. You couldn't even hope to go outside without one, and it often came in handy even in the tunnels. I think the mushroom fields, especially when the fresh fertilizer was being piled in. I had hoped I'd be able to get rid of it on the surface, but it looks like that was just a pipe dream. There are lots of places here where the stuffy things becomes a necessity. Charger. My tried and true manual crank charger, made from a scooter alternator, a stabilizer, a transformer, a battery, and metal shears. How often do I have to listen to it while waiting for the flashlight to come back to life? Frankly speaking, I love to cut down on the times I have to keep squeezing it, but 20 years after the Judgment Day, decent rechargeable batteries are kinda hard to come by, so we all have to use the restored and re-restored ones, and these hold charge just a little better than a bottomless bucket holds water. Besides, the little charge can, in times of an emergency, power things much larger than a flashlight or a night sight. Since it can generate some decent power, it usually takes quite a lot of cranking to do that though. Notepad. This isn't just an old military issue map case that holds maps, pencils and notes on the mission parameters anymore. The efforts of Tokarev, Sparta's tech guru, have brought it up to the Order's standard and turned it into a marvel of technology. While remaining surprisingly light, it now includes a map with an automatic curse plotter, showing my current location, a radio for communicating with the HQ, a compass, and a notepad, which I am planning to use to record my profound thoughts, interesting observations, and other things noteworthy. Perhaps one day I might turn it all into a memoir. Backpack. Tokarev has entrusted field testing his new invention, a combination backpack/portable workshop that not only allows to easily carry a considerable load and clean and service weapons, but also lets its user to make filters, medkits, and other pieces of equipment useful in the field to me. Surely I am honored with this trust, but something tells me Tokarev has an ulterior motive here. This could be his ploy for stocking up on useful materials without even leaving the confines of his workshop. If that wasn't the case, why would he spend time telling me where to find usable metal parts and chemicals? He even proposed I check out the mutant's layers, though I must say the idea seems to be quite good. Binoculars. The binoculars Crest gave to me turned out to be an invaluable gift. Back in Moscow, even on the surface, there was no real need for a pair, but here they do help me out a lot. Of course, you could take a good look at something from a considerable distance using an optical sight, but a wider field of view, great magnification, and above all, binocular picture allowed to get a good grasp of relative positions of points of interest and distance between them, making the binoculars a must when making such point on a map. Marking such point on a map. Bracer. The bracers all Spartans wear are not an important piece of armor, but still routinely save our lives. They are used to mount such vital pieces of equipment as Geiger counters, warn us of dangerous radiation, hotspots, and watches. Necessary for keeping track of gas mask filter usage. The watch is combined with another gadget that, despite its tiny size, is also vitally important. The light indicator. Many a time its blue light hinted me to find a better shaded hiding spot to remain stealthy. Lighter. This piece of trench art I got from S.T.A.L.K.E.R has been with me through a lot, but its value is far from just sentimental. I always rely on it whenever I need to start a campfire, find my way out of the dark tunnel by following the faintest draft, go through a spider bug lair and want to get rid of their cobwebs, or simply need a backup light source, and it never fails. Spartan suit. The Spartan suit is not just the uniform all members of our order wear. The suits provide a considerable degree of environmental protection which, when combined with a gas mask, allows Spartans to be reasonably safe during prolonged sorties to the surface. The suits also accommodate a modicum of armor and padding, ensuring when combined with armored vest, flexible and reliable protection that can be easily configured for heaviest of engagements or reconnaissance missions when swiftness of movement becomes the main priority. Night vision goggles. Even before the war, the night vision goggles were a valued commodity in the military forces when moderately concerned with the carrying out stealthy operations or effectively foiling those with relative fragility of such devices and perpetual darkness of the tunnels. The value and importance in the metro grew exponentially. Obtaining a working specimen is rare luck, and even the Order could never manage to produce enough to make night vision goggles a piece of standard issue equipment for all of its fighters, providing them only for specific operations. Still, all the helmets issued by the Order have the necessary mounting points, and our standard power packs usually reserved for feeding our flashlights have additional sockets which all the Spartans can use to plug such goggles into should they obtain one. And last but not least, weapons. The Kalash. Despite the venerable age of this weapon, which before the Judgment Day had played a considerable part in hundreds of conflicts all over the world, its unparalleled reliability and considerable firepower make it a prized possession in the tunnels of the metro, and of course on the surface. A standard Kalash is simply a solid assault rifle with all its characteristic pros and cons, but thanks to the talent of Sparta's gunsmiths and Tokarev personally, the model our order fields can accommodate a huge variety of upgrades, from extended magazine to various sights. Not only that, with a few simple operations and spare parts, it can be turned into a weapon of different class, from a shelled machine pistol that excels at close range to a light machine gun. This does not mean that the underlying concepts simplicity and reliability have been sacrificed either, even though my Kalash is many years my senior. It saved my bacon on many an occasion, and would shoot like nothing happened even after taking a dip in the marsh. Weapons are something we people are definitely good at making. They will probably be ready to kill years after there remains nobody on the face of the planet capable of pulling the trigger. The Shambler. The Shambler? Oh, what's would be the Achilles heel of a shotgun, the long reload cycle perhaps, and to remedy that, it looks like the designer of this monstrosity was ready to sacrifice anything, reliability, simplicity, even the common sense. Still, in terms of sheer firepower, This cross between a meat grinder and a lawnmower is second to none, and Tokarev says that, despite its freakish looks, it won't explode in my arms in the nearest future. Of course, if I exercise necessary caution and clean it regularly, guess I'll pretend I believe him. The T.A.L.K.E.R. Frankly speaking, I didn't recognize that T.A.L.K.E.R was a weapon when I saw it for the first time, and it took me some time to believe that it really could function even so. This remarkably ugly masterpiece of the armory station's designers they'd been driven into making by the eternal shortage of ammo has proven to be indispensable for the Order's operatives. Not only does T.A.L.K.E.R shoot the ubiquitous bearing balls, it is also practically noiseless, packs a wallop and is quite accurate over short distances naturally. All in all, it is an ideal special operations weapon for the conditions of Metro. Of course, you have to mind not just the ammo in the magazine, but also the air reservoir pressure, though Tokarev has at least improved valves so that the air does not escape unless you actually shoot the weapon. The humble revolver. In the Metro, where ammo is worth its weight in gold, a weapon's reload speed is usually a distant second or even third priority, while its reliability and simplicity become critical. Humidity, dust, poor quality handmade ammunition. Pulling a revolver trigger the second time when it misfires is much faster than fixing a feed failure in an automatic pistol, and in the confines of the tunnel's enemy might deny you the time needed for that altogether. That's why the armory station started producing copies of ancient Nagant revolvers. Soon they learned that even 7 bullets sometimes are not enough to stop a charging Nostalus, so they had to switch to a more powerful and exotic Russia 44 Magnum caliber. A hit with one of these is usually enough to kill a mutant on the spot. And that is exactly why such revolvers were a welcome addition to the Spartan Order's arsenal. Besides, due to the fact that they retained a Nagant revolver's cast sealing mechanism, they can be fitted with suppressors, and modifications introduced by our gunsmiths let them accommodate any other add-ons, from carbine-type stocks to night vision sights. The A-shot. What firearm could be simpler than a shotgun? Perhaps some extremely primitive zip gun, but these are known for their efficiency. A buckshot salvo, though, will make even the toughest and meanest of mutants at least think about their next actions carefully. Besides, shotgun ammo is easier to hand load than any other kind. So the popularity of this class of weapons is nothing surprising. Their variety, though, never ceased to amaze me, even after I learned that functional shotguns could be made from lengths of water pipes like most of A-shot variants are. Still, anything from 1 to 4 barrels, not counting different chokes, stocks, recoil compensators, and sights, even within the Order, the only standard as far as the shotguns are concerned is their caliber. I can't wrap my head around how Tokarev manages to know them all inside out. The Bastard. What if you require something with a better cyclic rate of fire than a revolver, but consider an assault rifle to be an overkill? The submachine guns are there for you. That is, of course, if besides the requirements and fantasy, you have quality machines and materials. If all you have is fantasy and skillful hands, you end up with an embodiment of beggars can't be choosers principle. You happen to have a length of thin pipe, a dented bucket, a rusty anvil, and pliers? Perfect! In a couple of days, you may well be spraying the mutants with lead, like so much water from a garden hose, with about the same range and accuracy, and not for long as your creation. Spitting unscrewed nuts left and right will overheat from its insane rate of fire and jam within seconds, like the Bastard gun ever popular amongst the denizens of Metro. Despite all the afflictions plaguing this gunsmith's nightmare, Tokarev managed to turn it into a decent weapon with enough power and accuracy to take its rightful place in our arsenal. Its only remaining drawback that even Tokarev's magic is unable to fix its propensity to jam when it overheats. Still, the number of bullets, the Bastard, as we naturally came to be calling it, manages to spit out before it stutters, usually ends up being enough for any opponent. The Decoy. An improvised noise decoy attracts attention of humans and beasts alike with the loud rattling noise it produces. Throwing knives. The perfect stealthy short-range weapon. The throwing knives are cold wrought by many a blacksmith through the metro from spring steel. I don't think spring steel needs to be used on this. You can use mild steel on this. Like, from my small experience as a blacksmith, the throwing knives don't need to be spring steel. They can be made of mild steel and they will do that job. If you're not throwing them at, you know, like a metal wall or concrete wall. Explosive. This makeshift grenade is essentially a length of steel pipe filled with explosives, but it can still be quite deadly if it goes off close enough. Molotov cocktail. This primitive incendiary device, little more than a bottle filled with gasoline, is still a dangerous weapon if employed skillfully. Holy shit. Yeah. An hour long episode. Goddamn. Radio.
Кінель, як чуєте, це Мархоль. Я в ЧБТ, прийом. Кінель, чуєте як? Прийом. Так, красині, нехай, пізніше.
Nothing. Yeah, this. What's that music?
Носитесь зі своїм Меншиковим. А скільки він у вас в Іркутську прожив? 2 років нема. Ти на Меншикова всіх собак не вішай. Забув про зеків з-під золотого, а? Торгувати з ними хто почав? Так, і за це не йому, а Захару спасибі. Оце мужик. Кремінь. Сам, через Байкал. Якщо він скаже, одразу по руках даримо. А Меншиков мені, і розтерти. Чи не забагато ти на себе береш, га? Зірку спіймав, як релейники відстали. Корона не тисне? Та йди ти те. Гаразд. Якщо теж отак за нього героя, нехай собі буде Меншиков. Та взагалі знаєш, ми всі Захару на шию сіли і ноги звісили. І це ще... Та годі тобі. Головне що? Що Іркутськ вижив, от що. Ну і ви теж. Це точно. Це головне. Ну тоді кінець зв'язку. Меншикову вітання. Ну, Змій. Кінець зв'язку.
Okay. Have anything else? Music. Find a tune on the radio. Oh, we have some music. Another tune. Anything else? More music. Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it.
Скільки ми вже днів у дорозі. Я ж теж слухала радіо. І ніяких там перемовин не було. Щоб вороги там, окупанти. Так багато різного в ефірі. Так багато історій. Батько каже, вони маскуються. Каже, це все їхні шифри, а не балачки за життя. Але як їм вдається так замаскуватися, щоб їх і не видно було? Це ж залізниця. Вони ж мають контролювати її по всій довжині, так? Чи хоч у ключових точках перерізати? Ну, якщо вони нас захопили. Це ж головний транспортний коридор. Може, їх тут і взагалі немає? Не дісталися сюди, чи відступили вже? Хоча, куди? Ані Катя їх у вічі не бачила, ані Хрест. Хоча ми і без них непогано вправляємося, а? Середньовіччя якесь. Онде у Селантія люди в рабстві. Занапащує їх ні за цапову душу. Невже б їм без цієї брехні, без казок його, без жертвоприношень гірше жилося? А ми що? Скільки років у підземеллях сидіти, одне одного їдьма їсти, і навіть не засумніватися в тому, що на горі жити не можна.
See? Okay, I wanted to look. Can I not somehow get the weapons? Seems like I couldn't. Well, that's going to be the end of today's episode.
Знаєш, я тут з Катею поговорила. Сиджу, згадую цей міст. Людей цих. Ну от ми під землею 20 років просиділи, а вони ні. І що? Адже це не ті люди, що міста будували. Літаки, ракети в космос запускали. А такі самі, як в метро, тільки ще більш задурені та нещасні. По суті, вони просто раби. Справжнісінькі. Весь день гарують, півночі моляться. Усе за розкладом, усе під наглядом. Все, буквально все вирішує громада. Ну, тобто, зрозуміло, хто Силантій цей. Адже у них свого нічого немає, штани ті громадські. Набрехав їм повен міг про електрику. Вони й вуха розвісили. Не всі, звісно, але там просто, якщо запитання ставиш, отримай епітимію. Поклонами та молитвами кульову блискавку знищити. А це ж бо неминуча смерть. Ну яка біда від ліхтарика? Що поганого в радіо? Ні, лише ховаються, хрестяться. Як так можна людині голову всякою бредотою забити? І лише за кілька років. Люди взагалі якось на дивовижу легко вірять у всяку брехню. Знаєш, головне, щоб брехня зручною була. Чи бодай звичною. От ми в метро. Ну гаразд, ми окупантів досі ніде не зустріли, якщо моєї футболки на антені не рахувати. І Катя їх у вічі не бачила, і хрест. Але десь там вони, припустимо, є. Але ж нам в метро не про них казали. Не пояснювали, що війна триває. Нас усі переконували, що просто ніде, крім метро, жити не можна. Нам брехали безупину. Весь цей час. І з добрими намірами? Мабуть. Але все метро на брехні тримається. Ох, люті бракує. І досі, скільки ми їдемо, жодного ворога немає. Жодного. Дивно, ні? А батько навіть слухати не хоче. Стеж за собою, будь обережний, ворог не дрімає. Ти ж знаєш, я батька люблю. Дуже, попри все. Але що, коли все, що розповідали йому, просто ще один шар брехні? Ох, сподіваюся, хоч у Ямантау у цьому дізнаємося, як усе насправді. Ну от, тобі ось розповіла вже якось легше. Дякую, Артеме. Вислухав. Помовчимо тепер трохи.
You know what? Okay, sit down. Since I'm going to be ending the episode here.
Добре як. До віку, бо так лежала. Слухай, а ти коли лазив на висотки в Москві? З радіо, ну, ти якось уявляв собі наше життя на горі? Дім наш, наприклад, ну, місце, де ми могли б жити. Хатинка на лісовій галявині там, наприклад, чи хишка на березі океану, а? Хоча, знаєш, є щось і в тому, щоб просто їхати отак разом через усі ці покинуті полустанки, руїни, пустки, кудись у нікуди. Та ще й в окремому персональному купе. Це ж, якщо подумати, наша з тобою весільна подорож виходить, так? Щоправда, з запізненням. Та досі у нас із тобою лише весільні вилазки були.
Well, okay, I'm going to end this episode here. So yeah.
Гаразд, біжи тепер в рубку. Батько щось хотів.
Hey, I'll see you in a second. Oh, I'll end this episode here. So, without much further ado, goodbye. Hope to see you next one. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and hope to see you in the next one. Ciao.